Welcome back to NTheRealestWay podcast by Marqes Smith, where we talk about so many topics in the realest way. On this podcast episode, I want to talk about the importance of what's not for you. Sometimes we get in environments, and by the way, I want this to be clear that this is a segment in regards to creating your own environment. I made a podcast episode a couple weeks ago. It was a while ago, talking about creating your environment. What do you want in your environment? Are you being intentional with what you want in your environment? Those were questions, and those were topics that we brought up so that it could be a bigger conversation in the future. I was in a space in my life where I couldn't talk about what wasn't for me because I didn't necessarily know, because the topic I made was creating the environment, finding a way to figure out what I wanted in my environment so that when I got to that environment, I could know what wasn't and what was for me, if that makes sense. Because you can't get to a space to know what you want and what you don't want if you ain't even been able to create the environment. So I just want that to be something that is known and clear, that every time I make a podcast episode, it is in regards to another podcast episode. It's like me learning these experiences and then applying them into every other experience and every other conversation that I make and that I have. So let's highlight a few of those big topics about creating your environment. You want to have people around you that care about you. You want people around you that love you and respect you, but you don't love and respect yourself. Create an environment where you are individually loved and you feel appreciated with yourself. A lot of people, we don't have conversations like that to ourselves, about ourselves. We're not our biggest supporters sometimes. It's, I give grace. We give grace to other people. We give grace to everybody else besides ourselves. We never really give it to ourselves. That's what we're lacking, especially with creating your environment. You want an environment that's full of love and full of respect and everything that's good and positive. But when it comes to you being the person that provided for yourself, you can't do it. In regards to respect and having people who respect your boundaries, that is something that is really important. We have people around us who respect us, who care enough about us that when we say we don't want this to happen around us, we don't like this, it doesn't make me happy, this is harming me. And it's not a way of controlling people. It's a way of, when you're talking about creating a boundary and creating your environment with that boundary, understand that when you create a boundary, it's in regards to you. It's what you allow in your life from other people. It's not a sense of controlling them. You're not controlling anybody. You're creating a boundary that is in regards to you. It's your bubble. It's your space. That's what a boundary is. So having healthy boundaries, healthy relationships with people. Recently, I realized that I was creating my environment. I'm constantly creating my environment. I'm never steady. It's never just done. I'm never done creating my environment. I'm always learning, okay, this is what I like and this is what I don't like. I'm always figuring out something different. And that's the beautiful thing about it. So when we talk about creating a boundary and creating an environment in regards to a boundary, recently I was tested. I'm always being tested. God is always testing me. Okay, you want this? Well, let's see if you're ready for it. Because talk is cheap. We get to a point where we just talking and talking and talking. We're not actually putting in the work. The actions are not aligning with the words. Okay? So God was like, okay, let's put your money where your mouth is, okay? So recently somebody was being, really, really disrespectful to me. Really, really disrespectful. And I paused. That's the key thing, right? When creating boundaries and when somebody goes over your boundary and says something that's disrespectful. Because first of all, I'm not a type of person where I'm very direct, right? You could be a person that's direct. You could be a person that may be a little indirect. Some people have to read the room, understand. But I make it to where even if I'm not saying it directly, I'm still saying it in a way to where it's directed and it's like obvious. To where sometimes I don't want to be bothered. I'm a very chatty person, as you can tell. I got a podcast episode. Clearly I'm talking, right? So a lot of people know me for talking, but sometimes I'm not talking. Sometimes I'm not wanting to be bothered. And it's obvious by the way I'm responding to you. I'm not responding in a disrespectful way. I'm responding in a way to where, hey, I don't have your full attention right now. And I know that it's something that, and when creating your environment, it's a you thing too, where you have to be clear about people who are around you with what you want and what you don't want. Sometimes I don't have the mental capacity to have a conversation with you about anything. So it's a me thing to where I need to be more clear about what I'm doing and how I'm displaying myself outwardly to other people. But even then, so I make it clear that, hey, I'm not want to talk right now. And I'll say little things like, hey, can you, like, what you doing? Like, can you back up off me? You know, you're a little too close. I make a little joke about it. And I say it and I say it and I say it, and you keep crossing those boundaries. And then I say it not in a disrespectful way, right? Because I'm never intentionally disrespectful. Yes, I'm very direct, but I'm never going out of my way to be malicious towards people. And that's what people see as direct as malicious, right? So that's not a me thing, right? That's not a me thing. That's a perception of reality. I've already made it clear that I don't have any intention of being rude to you or being malicious to you. I was nice to you. I was, being very respectful. But once you cross a boundary to where I have to, take it up a couple notches, you can't get mad at me. You bothering me, So it's like, girl. And then after I said it, made it clear, like, can you really, like, give me some space, please? Like, you really out of my bubble. They said some really disrespectful things to me, some really rude things. And afterwards, after they calmed down, it seemed like they realized, oh yeah, I was overreacting. Smith wasn't really, being crazy or rude to me. He just was setting a boundary, creating an environment to where he was at peace with. And sometimes we have to realize that the environment can completely shift. One moment, because sometimes we get overstimulated. One moment I'm Gucci, I'm okay, I'm happy, right? Then there's a moment I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm a little drained. It hit me all out of nowhere. I got a little headache. I'm under stress. I'm in my bubble. Just don't pop it. There were times I had to realize, I had to tell people, because I'll be in my own little zone, right? In a public place, right? But I found myself in a secluded area in a public place. And by myself, I'm not talking. And people would come and just enter my bubble. And I sometimes didn't have healthy ways of saying that something was bothering me and that this was something that I didn't want to partake in. I don't want to talk to you right now. I'm dealing with my own stuff. So creating your own environment is 100% what you allow. Realize that. You're the person that is creating your environment. You're the person who is being intentional with what you want to happen in your life. It's you. Nobody can come in here and say, okay, this is what I want in your environment. I want you to add this and that. I want this to be there. It's not that. It's you. And it's the same thing in regards to what you want to be and how you want to be and who you want to be. You want to be somebody who goes to the gym every day. Well, Bob can't go to the gym for you. And I use that example all the time because it's something that's so consistent and so that's the truth. You put in the work and you do the things intentionally that you want to see flourish and grow in your life. So yes, there are times when I'm honest about it. Sometimes I'm not the best person to set a boundary in a healthy way. Sometimes I'm not in a mental capacity to where I can handle having an honest conversation, a healthy conversation with you. That's my fault. But in recent time, I'm very intentional. I'm very understanding that, hey, I can't talk to you right now. I can't give you what you want me to give you right now. You want me to laugh and joke with you? I can't do it. I'm sorry. I ain't got it in me. So creating your own environment, right? That was the gist of it. That was the important thing that I wanted to highlight, to talk about, was creating your environment, understanding that you're the person who is having that, who is controlling that. And he was very disrespectful. He was very rude to me. So after that, I realized that I'm not allowing that anymore. You don't have the same. First of all, he didn't have that much access to me anyway, because I don't allow people in my life who is not for me. Right. So that's like the topic of the conversation. What's not for you? It's not for me. You're not for me. And it's nothing to do with you. I mean, it is to do with you and it is to do with me, and it's not in a way to where you're at fault. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. It's not for you. And before I go deeper into the conversation, I want to end this segment talking about how I decided that, hey, Now we can't really even conversate no more. If it ain't about work, if it ain't professional, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to have a conversation with you because it came to a point where you were disrespectful to me for something that wasn't either one of us. Like it wasn't an issue to start with, right? I made it clear about my boundaries, or at least I tried to the best I could. And you took that as, for no reason, right? You took that as an attack. And I mean, that's the end of it. So, there's nothing else to say. Like, you disrespect me and I don't allow that disrespect. And then there's a conversation of cutting people off, when to cut people off. It's all of what you allow and what you don't allow, what's not for you and what's for you. Some people can do something that hurts you and you know that it wasn't an intentional thing and you know that it probably will never happen again. But then there's people where, it was intentional and it's happened numerous times before. So now you have to get to a point to where you're not allowing that at all. You can't be in my life anymore. We can't have those meaningful conversations, those conversations where vulnerability and I'm opening myself up to you more than I would to a regular person. We can't have that conversation anymore because now I feel like I have to be on eggshells. And this is one thing that I'm getting to a point where I'm tired of doing. I'm tired of being around people where I have to constantly be afraid of what I say, and not in an evil way, but just like in a way to where there's no frequency. We're not on the same frequency. Every time I speak, every time they speak, there's waves being disrupted, oh shit. There's waves being disrupted and all kinds of issues and all kinds of things that are happening. I don't want to walk around on eggshells with people I care about. It's not for me. And it's nothing against either one of us. We're on different paths of life. You're not for me. I'm not for you. Let's keep moving. I wish you the best. I promise you. The intentions that I have to people is, and I don't think it's going to sound crazy, but this is the truth. I don't necessarily have to see you, nor do I want to see you, especially if I don't want you in my life. But I have no interest in wanting to see you or check on you if we don't have any, we're not cool or anything, right? But I wish you the best. Everybody I have had interactions with, everybody who I've had relations and I've had meaningful connections with, and we're no longer together, I'm not going out of my way to look at you and see you, but I wish you the best. I accept that we had a season. I accept that we had a past that we lived and we grown together. We had some kind of point of where we learned something from each other. Then we moved on. It's not for me. And that's what this conversation is about, especially in relationships. The one topic that I thought about was in an environment where you've created, and sometimes there's other things that happen around your environment. You may have slim pickings, but don't choose those pickings just because it's the only thing around you. Okay? In high school, I know it's like high school, like, dating and all that kind of stuff, right? People rarely ever find somebody long lasting in high school. But I just want to give you an example that is more so on a smaller level of an environment where, like there's not that many people that you can choose from, right? So you're in high school and then there's all these people that you literally don't have any interest in being with because, there's preference, there's all these kind of things that, what you like, what you're attracted to, and it gets smaller and smaller, right? Just because those are the things that are around you doesn't mean that's what you have to choose. Sometimes the best thing that you can do is wait. The best thing that you could do is wait. You don't have to just go out and just pick, this is the only things that are out here. Okay, I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to pick the least thing that is out. How do you say it? Anyway, you don't have to pick out of the thing that is least the best to pick from. This is the thing that is leastly involved with that, right? This person does this or does that, and that goes completely against my moral values, but this person has less of it. No. How about you just, and wait, be patient. Be patient. Everything ain't gonna come when you think it needs to come because you don't know exactly when it needs to happen. It's not for you to decide that. And when I realized that there was a point when everything was so breezy. I mean, it's still that way right now, but there was a point when it was real breezy. I mean, like it was like flowing of the water. I was doing everything in regards to my life, like my social media when I was posting and everything, and it would just flow. It was so easy. I would post and you could actually, I could feel that this was for me. And that's the point of this podcast episode. How does it feel? What does it feel like when you're around these people or doing this thing? Do you feel at ease? Do you feel at peace? Is it working? Does it make sense? Because there's some point where things just have to make sense. You're talking to Sam not every day. You're the only one. You're initiating every conversation with Sam. You're texting Sam, good morning, and how's your day going? And Sam barely replies back to your messages, right? Sometimes he don't reply until 2 days later. And you're sitting here wondering, is this for me? Is Sam for me? Like, I don't understand. He's not texting me back. He's not being consistent, right? He's not doing what he said that he was going to do up front, right? In regards to whatever relationship that y'all have initiated. So you have to realize that it doesn't make sense. It is not up to you for it to make sense because you're upholding your side of the relationship, what y'all agreed to. Sometimes a conversation don't need to be had. Of course, there's things that happen to people in their lives where some things aren't easy to talk about, but an honest conversation to whatever length that you're willing to have a conversation about is important. You can say, hey, I'm busy. I can't talk right now. It's okay to do that. And that was just an example of understanding that sometimes what's not for you, it's not for you. There was numerous times when I was talking to people or in some kind of relationship with somebody, and I just realized that it's already not given. It ain't already given. Just go ahead and let it go. Wrap it on up. It's time to let it go. We have to be more intentional with what we allow. It's like you think it doesn't matter. It does not an issue, but it really is. It really is an issue. And you don't have to choose what's readily available to you right now. You don't have to. Sometimes you can wait. It's okay to wait. I tell you, I really tell you, like, these topics and this way of living, it's not easy. You're constantly having to go through things and learn and experience things differently than what you thought you could and what you would and what you initially were doing. But the discipline and the consistency, all of these things that develop after that, all of these conversations that happen after that, and the way of living, it is so much better. It's so much better. I couldn't have achieved any of the things that I was achieving if the environment that I was in before was still my environment. If I allowed and I accepted what was readily available to me, what was around me. There was plenty of times when I could have, with the podcast, with my life, I could have just said, okay, this is what's right here. This is what's in front of me. I'm just going to take it and accept this. You know, people think it's easy to be consistent, especially in something to where it's a you thing, an individual thing where I make this podcast episode, I put the camera up, I get everything ready, I set everything up the way I want it to be, and sometimes it doesn't happen that way. There was a point when I would get so frustrated, and you could probably tell when I wouldn't even have my mic on and I would just be talking because the microphone would be messed up. I would be going through so much because I would want it to be a certain way, and I would want it to be this way. It has to work this way. It needs to work this way. Then I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I might have to accept it as it is. I'm going to have to accept that I can't do it. It was hard. It was challenging. And I got frustrated. But I evaluated my emotions. I understood how I felt. And then I moved forward. But just because it can't go this way doesn't mean it can't happen another way. And it may not be exactly how you thought it would be, but it happened. It happened anyway. Go anyway, right? Another podcast topic that I talked about was going anyway. Everything aligns together again. When you do these things and it doesn't work out exactly how you want it to work out, you keep going until you figure out how it works and how it goes. I just had to figure out another way to do it. I just had to go another route. I just had to find another way to create my environment to where it actually benefited me. Realize that you could have weeds in your garden. There could be weeds in your garden. And instead of actively picking them up, they're causing damage to everything that you're creating, and you're just letting it go there. You wonder why you are trying to become successful, but the weeds around you are stopping you from becoming successful. You wonder why this person who, in high school, I already talked about this before on my podcast, but I was around people where every second that they got, every second, I am not exaggerating. Every second that they spoke, they said something, it was negative. I was around those kind of people who were constantly draining me and I kid you not, corrupting me and making me feel like nothing mattered. All that I had an interest in was comparing and being negative and draining people and just all this. It was no way of looking to the light. They weren't for me. And I don't mind having a conversation with somebody about something that is causing them grief or that's an issue. I don't mind that. But if there's no intention of coming out into the light, that's a problem. People have gotten mad at me because I found myself not wanting to be unhappy. You're sitting here saying, this is happening, this is what's going on in my life. I can't get this, I can't get that. But then I ask you, what are you doing about it? And you say nothing. And then you constantly and consistently continue to throw and push all of what you have and all your negativity onto me. Now I'm feeling upset and I'm feeling empty. I'm feeling, a little negative now. Be intentional. Pull that weed out that garden. It's not supposed to be there. Pull it out and watch your garden and everything around you grow. First of all, that's the first topic. But the second one is with the weeds that you're trying to pull out, you ain't got no room for nothing else anyway. You try to put a garden right here, the weeds right there. Sometimes you got to move some stuff out the way to get to where you need to be. I move stuff out the way. I don't mind removing people no more. Removing things. I don't care. What is this giving me? What is this fueling me? What am I giving to you? I got to a point where I'm okay with people cutting me off. If it's moving towards your healing and growing whatever you want out of life, if I'm not supposed to be in your life, I'll pick up my stuff and I'll go myself. All you got to do is tell me. I want us as a race, as a human race, as people, as a connection to where we have all this stuff going on. I want us to get to a point to where we can have honest conversations and then move forward. We don't have to be entangled. We don't have to be stuck. We can cut each other loose and find other ways to lift each other up. We think that what we have around us is everything that we could be and everything that and this is how, even if it's, maybe it's traumatic, right? I know it was something that I was conditioned to do. I know it was something that I went through and it's caused issues and things to happen in a different way. But the one thing that I just thought about was I was listening to a TikTok about this situation where I know people have heard of this about the bananas and the monkeys and climbing up the ladder and then getting sprayed. So where 3 of them would sit there and one would go climb for the banana and the 2 that weren't climbing will get sprayed. And it would constantly happen to where it was nothing but the three monkeys, to where none of them have actually climbed the ladder, but they all have been sprayed. And they would add somebody else to that, and they all jumped them because they were conditioned to believe that this was the only thing that could happen. This is the only way of living. That was what was for them. And that was the problem. We get to a point to where we think that We ain't even never been, we never even climbed for the banana. But but you know what it was actually? It's not that they got sprayed. It's the fact that, what was it? They got beat up. Okay, it was all the 3 monkeys that got beat up because they were trying to go for it. They never got sprayed by the cold water. They got beat up by the monkeys that were sprayed by the cold water. I always messing some shit up, child. But the main point is they were conditioned to believe that way of living was the only way to live. And that's the problem. I'm no longer going to be a part of a system that is no longer working. That's not for me. It's not for you. It's only for a group of people. And that's it. That's the system. I don't want to be a part of a system that brings other people down just to lift a few of them up. We can find a way to where we're all being lifted up together as a human race, as people. I don't know if this is something I just thought of, but I don't know if it's in regards to this podcast topic. I like to stay on topic, right? But I was dealing with something recently with people, with how my boundaries were not being respected and the things that people were saying that was offensive. And in their own way, they wanted me to get to a point to where I accepted it. That what was being done to me was something that I was doing to other people, and it was just done in a different way. Trying to find a way to minimalize and make how I felt not important. When in reality, the two things that they were comparing me to what they were doing were two totally different things. And in only most recent time, yesterday or today, I got to a point to where I realized I don't have to accept what they want me to do just because that's what they want me to do. And that's what's available to me right now. I can make my own choice, and I can decide that, you know what? I don't want this to happen anymore around me. I don't want to walk into a room and be filled with so much anxiety because I'm scared of what other people have to say. Scared of what they might feel or do, or who wants to live like that? So no, I'm no longer accepting things that I no longer want to have in my life. I'm not. I won't. And I don't know how this podcast episode is moving towards. I don't know what it's doing really necessarily, but I know that this is an honest conversation that needs to happen with creating your environment, with understanding what's for you and what's not for you, and how some things may work for some people this way, but they may not work for you that way. But the only way you'll know that and figure it out is by going and trying to figure it out. You're never going to know if you don't ever try to figure it out. So the things I want to highlight is creating the environment, what's not for you, and going anyway. Go anyway. Even if you don't become successful in that way of figuring it out, you're a step closer to figuring out in the way that you need to. But you'll never be able to figure it out if you never try. It's like food. Oh, I thought I would like that. I didn't like that. Oh, but that had a similar taste to this. It's a little different. Maybe I'll like this one, You know what? Maybe I don't like ranch on my fried chicken. Maybe I like a little hot sauce on there. The only way you'll know that is if you go out and you experience life and figure it out. But if you're stuck around people who they only eat ranch with their fried chicken, that's all you're going to know. I got to a point to where I was so conditioned to that very thing that I didn't have any interest in going out and meeting other people and trying. Let's get away from the example right now. But I got to a point to where I would be so triggered and people would talk to me and I'm like, who the hell is this? Who are you? Because I was so conditioned into believing that this is all I knew. This is all I know. Anybody else that's outside of my circle You an enemy. You a problem. And I'm still dealing with that right now because I was so meant to believe that that was the only way, that the people in vicinity that were close to me only had access to me. And it's a challenge. I'm still going through it, trying to figure out, okay, you know what? I can go out and experience people. I can go out and live life and meet people, learn from people, grow with people. I don't have to accept what's readily right in front of me. I don't have to. You don't have to. What's for you? Figure it out. Go experience life so that you can figure it out, because that's the only way that you'll figure it out. And then move forward and learn and make mistakes and then move forward again. Your life's like a painting. Don't try to erase the mistakes that you made. Learn from those mistakes and add beauty to it. Add lessons of success so that when you get to the top of it, when you become successful, you'll have this beautiful painting of life and all that you went through. Everything, the good and the bad. But you got to experience life before you can get to the top. Because the top, after you get to the top, it's the top, right? But the journey to get there, the painting, the experiences, all of that, that is the meaning. That's the meaning of life. That's the real reason. I don't know. This podcast episode was a little different, honey. It's a little weird, right? I'm on a time crunch, right? But I'm still trying to be consistent with posting and making everything the best way I can with the current me, with who I am right now. I got some stuff I got to do, but it's almost at the end. And once I'm done with this, ain't no stopping me. But like I say at the end of every podcast episode, I give thanks to the utmost, to the highest power, God. I'm thankful for my friends and my family. I am truly, truly grateful. This is NTheRealestWay podcast, out.